So God calls up the Pope. I've got some good news, and I have some bad news, God says. The good news is that I've decided there should be just one church and just one religion worldwide. No more confusion and competition among the people. And Pope Francis responds, "That's wonderful. Our people will be so grateful." And God says, "Well, there's bad news also. I'm calling from Mecca." This little jest is my feeble attempt to say that although I'm supposed to talk on the third Sunday of the month about Islam and the Quran, I was asked by the Bloom powers that be to preach today instead. Given a whopping 10 minutes at this pulpit, this seemed to me a great opportunity to tell you as a congregation what our annual Bloom book group has been up to for the last month inside Coach Karma, Wallace's and my home in the Sahara Mobile Home Park. Rev Kev, who annually participates in our exercise, likes to say that our Bloom Discussing Books group always pushes the envelope. This year's book clearly qualifies for that description. It is entitled, Saving Jesus from the Church. The subtitle is maybe even more important. How to Stop Worshiping Christ and Start Following Jesus. In picking up this book at the Yale Divinity School bookstore in New Haven a couple of years ago, I noticed that Anglican Archbishop Tutu of South Africa had endorsed it by saying, "Every once in a while, a book comes along that changes everything. This is that book." Whoa. Episcopal Bishop John Spong endorsed it by saying, "Author Robin Myers emerges in Saving Jesus from the Church as a national voice for a new Christianity." Wow, again. My own assessment now is that any Christian of any persuasion, will find this a highly provocative book. I hope you all will read it. Each year there are 15 people in Bloom's book group. First come, first served to participate. This March the group included several former Roman Catholics, several Unitarians, a former Southern Baptist, a former Mormon, 2 agnostics, and 2 atheists. All of us, regardless of background, were in these weekly sessions to honor Bloom's slogan, God wants you to think for yourself and to live for others. Now, speaking quite personally as one participant of the group, I came to Christianity through my very, very Methodist parents and evolved 22 years later into a 3-year divinity student following college. But the Christianity I was part of, the Christianity I was then a part of, even at the liberal Yale Divinity School 60 years ago, put me squarely into author Robin Myers' category of airport theology. Airport theology. The bottom line of my faith was Jesus' miraculous arrival and Jesus' miraculous departure. That means a virgin birth and a physical resurrection. I also, with my parents, believe literally in the Jesus miracles of the Bible and basically the entire now considered conservative Protestant package, typical, very typical, of what Christians believed until about the 1960s, when study of the historical Jesus radically altered the thinking of the religious professionals, somewhat triggered by Albert Schweitzer's older book, The Quest of the Historical Jesus. Now, Robin Myers, the author of Saving Jesus from the Church, has been pastor of the Mayflower UCC Church in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, for 30 years now, is a tenured full professor in philosophy at Oklahoma City University, an award-winning commentator for National Public Radio, a peace activist, and a syndicated columnist. He stirs up controversy easily by separating Jesus, the poor, enlightened Galilean Jew, from Christ, the title of ultimate power and grandeur that evolved through the formalities of Constantine's Roman Empire and centuries of church dogma. Myers also assesses the human condition as original blessing, not original sin. That came with St. Augustine. He describes Easter as divine presence, sort of recharging, if you will, not proof of what gospel writers and creeds report. He interprets Christianity as compassion, ultimate compassion, not the condemnation implied by many denominations, and he describes religion not by the rules righteousness, but simply by relationships we all have with each other and have with God. His bottom line recommendation, through hard-hitting, memorable phrases, often quite funny, is that every Christian church and every Christian person should more or less start over by giving priority to studying and imitating Jesus as the historic person who has best exemplified, better than Mohammed, better than Buddha, better than whomever, what God wants us to do with our lives. Meyer feels that the church, transforming Jesus to the Christ, has been hugely compromised, since becoming married to the Roman Empire in 300 AD, and has been weakened throughout modern history by man-made creeds. To be like Jesus, in quotes, is much, much more important than following man-made rules of what we should believe. Robin Myers also feels strongly that there is an elephant in the room every Sunday morning during most worship services in the mainline Christian denominations of America. Well, what is this large, silent thing that threatens? It is what the minister has been educated to know regarding of the historic traditions of Christianity, but is often reluctant to share with his people because it might cause trouble. For example, were there a virgin birth, a star, and 3 wise men all sort of in one 24-hour period? Probably not. Did the biblical miracles really suspend all natural law? Probably not. Was there truly a physical resurrection? Probably not. And so the list goes, chapter by chapter, to rattle our traditional beliefs and faith. Let me quickly add at this point that I doubt if the author would find an elephant in Bloom's sanctuary when Rev Kev preaches. Our minister is usually quite careful to share a variety of interpretations of a biblical story, say, and he broadens the metaphorical meaning of communion, for example. Personally, I found this book radical but deeply, deeply affecting. To be honest with myself, I must alter my temptation to sometimes caustically criticize various arms and widespread practices of the established Christian church. I must instead look deeper into what exactly Jesus was all about. Hundreds of years before the likes of the Apostles' Creed were ever voted upon by committee and firmly set for mankind. Then, ultimate compassion must motivate me every important decision and move. Now, what does this mean? I think it means attempting to empathize while sharing with those in need and transmitting to the best of my ability the mysteries of God, or let's say eternal source today, to those who, for any reason, are denied that exposure. This is a tough order for the worldwide church, particularly a tough order for me and possibly for you too. Wallace and I are so enthused about this book that we have bought 5 more copies of Saving Jesus from the Church. And remember this subtitle, How to Stop Worshiping Christ and Start Following Jesus, to add to the 3 already in Bloom's library at the church office. I hope you'll check one out through Megan. Saving Jesus from the Church is passionate, reasonable, uplifting, and a very good read. Whether you view Robin Meyer, the author, as a hero or as a heretic, the time spent with him will be very worthwhile indeed. Again, he says compellingly that our individual religion must be based on Jesus, not on the interpretations and demands of the established church. So be it, or might we say, so may it be. Amen.